The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and regret. A sterile cage for a heart that wouldn't stop breaking. Eli, 28, sat hunched in a plastic chair, his calloused hands gripping a paper cup of coffee long gone cold. Across from him, the man he'd sworn to forget, Ryan, 32, with eyes like a storm at dusk, stood by the window, staring at the rain-slicked Chicago streets below. They hadn't spoken in months. Not since the night Eli walked out, suitcase in hand, promising himself it was over. Temporary. They'd called it a fleeting romance born in dive bars and late-night confessions. Too fragile for the weight of forever. But now, here they were, tethered by a phone call that had shattered Eli's world. A baby. Abandoned at the hospital. Born to a cousin Eli barely knew. And somehow, inexplicably, left to him. "Why are you here, Ryan?" Eli's voice cracked, raw from hours of arguing with social workers. "You don't owe me anything." Ryan turned, his jaw tight, hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets. "You think I'd let you do this alone? You're not as tough as you pretend, Eli." His words carried a tenderness that stung, a reminder of nights when they'd lain awake, whispering dreams they were too scared to chase. Eli wanted to snap back, to rebuild the walls he'd spent months fortifying. But the truth was heavier than his pride. He was terrified. A baby. A tiny, fragile life he wasn't ready for. Thrust into his hands because of a will scribbled on a napkin. His cousin Mia, gone too soon, had named him guardian. Him, a carpenter with a one-bedroom apartment and a heart still tangled in Ryan's shadow. The door creaked open, and a nurse entered, cradling a bundle wrapped in a blue blanket. "Mr. Carter," she said, her voice soft but firm. "This is Noah." She placed the baby in Eli's arms, and time seemed to stop. Noah's tiny face, scrunched and pink, stirred something in Eli he couldn't name, a fierce, aching need to protect. Ryan stepped closer, his breath catching. "He's perfect," he whispered, his hand hovering near Noah's tiny fist. For a moment, their eyes met, and the weight of everything unsaid hung between them. This wasn't part of the plan. They were supposed to be temporary. But as Noah's tiny fingers curled around Eli's thumb, he felt Ryan's presence like an anchor. "We can't do this," Eli murmured, more to himself than to Ryan. "I can't." Ryan's hand found his shoulder, steady and warm. "You don't have to do it alone." The next few days were a blur of paperwork and panic. Eli's apartment, cluttered with tools and half-finished furniture, was no place for a newborn. Bottles, diapers, and a crib donated by a neighbor transformed the space overnight. Ryan showed up every morning, unasked, with coffee and a stubborn determination to help. Eli hated how much he needed it. They fell into a rhythm, clumsy but earnest. Ryan learned to change diapers with a YouTube tutorial on his phone, cursing under his breath when Noah wailed. Eli, meanwhile, wrestled with formula ratios and sleepless nights, his heart swelling each time Noah's cries softened in his arms. One night, as they sat on the couch, Noah asleep between them, Ryan broke the silence. "You ever think about it? Us. I mean, before." Eli's chest tightened. He wanted to say no, to lie and keep the distance safe. But the truth slipped out. Every damn day. Ryan's laugh was soft, bittersweet. "Me too." They didn't talk about it again, but the air between them shifted, charged with something neither dared name. Eli told himself it was just the exhaustion, the chaos of this new life. But when Ryan fell asleep on the couch, his head tipped against Eli's shoulder, it felt like the world had tilted back into place. By the end of the week, the social worker's visit loomed. Eli's fear of failing Noah failing himself gnawed at him. Ryan, sensing it, stayed later each night. His presence a quiet promise. They were temporary, Eli reminded himself. But as he watched Ryan hum a lullaby to Noah, he wasn't so sure anymore. The social worker, Ms. Delgado, arrived on a gray Tuesday morning, her clipboard a guillotine over Eli's fragile new world. She surveyed his apartment with sharp eyes, noting the second-hand crib, the stack of diapers, and the faint coffee stains on the counter. Eli stood rigid, Noah in his arms, while Ryan lingered by the kitchen, pretending to organize bottles. You've made a good start, Mr. Carter, Ms. Delgado said, her tone neutral. But raising a child alone is a significant responsibility. Do you have support? Eli's throat tightened. He wanted to say he was fine, that he could handle it. But the truth was, he hadn't slept more than 3 hours a night, and the weight of Noah's future felt like a boulder on his chest. I've got Ryan, he admitted, glancing at the man who'd become his shadow. Ms. Delgado's gaze flicked to Ryan, who offered a small nod. And you are? She asked. Friend, Ryan said quickly, but his eyes lingered on Eli, heavy with unspoken truths. The visit ended with a list of requirements: parenting classes, a stable income, a safer apartment. Eli felt like he was drowning. After Ms. Delgado left, he sank onto the couch, Noah asleep against his chest. I'm gonna screw this up, he muttered. Ryan sat beside him, closer than necessary. You're not. You're doing better than you think. Eli snorted, but Ryan's hand found his, a fleeting touch that burned. You don't have to stay. You know, this isn't your mess. Ryan's jaw tightened. Maybe I want it to be. The weeks that followed were a crucible. Eli enrolled in parenting classes, dragging Ryan along, who grumbled but never missed a session. They learned to swaddle, to soothe, to navigate the labyrinth of Noah's needs. At night, they took turns rocking him, their conversations growing softer, more honest. One evening, as snow dusted the Chicago streets, Ryan opened up. My dad kicked me out when I came out at 17, he said, staring at the floor. I swore I'd never let anyone feel that kind of alone again. Eli's heart ached. He'd known pieces of Ryan's past, but never the depth of it. You're not alone now, he said, the words slipping out before he could stop them. Ryan looked at him, eyes raw. Neither are you. Their hands brushed as they passed Noah's bottle. And for a moment, Eli let himself imagine a life where them, together, with Noah wasn't temporary. But the fear of losing Ryan again, of breaking under the weight of hope, kept him silent. The apartment became a battleground of small victories and setbacks. Noah's first smile lit up Eli's world, but the bills piling up dimmed it. Ryan started picking up extra shifts at the auto shop, slipping cash into Eli's wallet when he thought he wasn't looking. Eli hated it, but couldn't refuse. Not for Noah. One night, after a particularly brutal day, Eli found Ryan asleep in the rocking chair, Noah cradled against his chest. The sight cracked something in Eli, a wall he'd built to keep Ryan out. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from Ryan's forehead, and whispered, "What are we doing? Ryan stirred, his eyes meeting Eli's in the dim light. Whatever it is, he murmured. I don't want it to stop. Eli's heart pounded, but he didn't pull away. Not this time. Winter tightened its grip on Chicago, and with it came a new kind of pressure. Eli's boss at the carpentry shop cut his hours, citing a slow season, and the apartment's heating bill doubled. Noah, now 3 months old, was growing fast, his needs outpacing Eli's paycheck. Ryan's quiet contributions groceries. Formula. A new car seat became a lifeline, but they also deepened Eli's guilt. I'm not your charity case. Eli snapped one night, tossing a wad of Ryan's cash onto the table. Ryan's eyes flashed with hurt. You think that's what this is? I'm here because I care. Eli. About Noah. About you. The words hung heavy. Unspoken promises tangled in them. Eli wanted to believe, but doubt gnawed at him. What if Ryan left again? What if this fragile family they were building crumbled? The next day, Ryan dragged Eli to a community center hosting a free parenting workshop. The room buzzed with exhausted parents, and Eli felt out of place until a lesbian couple shared their story of adopting their daughter. Their words about love being a choice, not a guarantee, hit Eli hard. He glanced at Ryan, who was scribbling notes, and felt a flicker of hope. Back home, they fell into their routine: dinner, Noah's bath, bedtime. But tonight, Ryan lingered, his hand brushing Eli's as they washed dishes. You're not in this alone, Ryan said softly. Stop trying to be. Eli's defenses cracked. I'm scared. Okay. I'm scared I'll fail him. Fail us. Ryan stepped closer, his voice steady. You won't. We won't. The air between them crackled, and before Eli could think, Ryan's lips were on his, soft and urgent. The kiss was a lifeline, pulling Eli from the depths of his fear. When they pulled apart, breathless, Eli whispered, This doesn't mean we're fixed. Ryan smiled, sad but sure. It means we're trying. The weeks blurred into a fragile rhythm. Eli found a second job, delivering furniture, and Ryan started teaching Noah to giggle by blowing raspberries on his tummy. They argued about money, about space, about the past, but they always found their way back to each other. One night, as they lay on the couch, Noah asleep between them, Eli spoke the truth he'd been avoiding. I never stopped loving you. Even when I left. Ryan's eyes glistened. I never stopped either. They didn't say more, but the silence was enough. For now, it was enough. Spring brought tentative warmth to Chicago, but Eli's world felt colder. A letter from the state arrived, questioning his suitability as Noah's guardian. Mia's family, distant relatives Eli barely knew, had contested the will, claiming a single gay man wasn't fit to raise a child. The words burned, each one a dagger to Eli's fragile confidence. Ryan found him staring at the letter, knuckles white. They can't take him, Ryan said fiercely. We'll fight this. We. Eli's voice was hollow. You're not on the paperwork. This is my mess. Ryan's face hardened. Noah's ours. You think I'm walking away now? The fight for Noah became their crucible. They hired a lawyer, a kind woman named Sarah who worked pro bono for LGBTQ families. She warned them the battle would be brutal. Courts often favored traditional families, but she saw the fire in their eyes and promised to fight. Eli and Ryan threw themselves into proving their worth. They moved into a bigger apartment, pooling their savings for a 2-bedroom with a sunny nursery. They attended every court-mandated class, their hands clasped under the table. At night, they took turns rocking Noah, whispering promises to him and each other. One evening, after a grueling court hearing, Eli broke. What if we lose him? He sobbed, his face buried in Ryan's chest. Ryan held him tight. We won't. I swear we won't. Their love, once fragile, grew roots in the chaos. They weren't perfect, arguments flared. Old wounds resurfaced, but they were a team. Noah's laughter became their fuel, his tiny hands pulling them closer. By summer, the court case loomed larger, but so did their bond. Eli looked at Ryan one night, as they painted Noah's nursery, and said, "I want this. Us. For real." Ryan's smile was brighter than the sun. "Took you long enough." The courtroom was a battlefield, all polished wood and cold stairs. Eli sat rigid, his tie choking him, while Ryan gripped his hand under the table. Noah, now 6 months old, was with a sitter, his absence a gaping wound in Eli's chest. Mia's aunt, a stern woman named Helen, sat across the aisle, her lawyer painting Eli as unstable, unfit, a single man with no family support. The lawyer sneered, glossing over Ryan's presence. Eli's heart sank. But Sarah, their lawyer, fought back, presenting photos of Noah's nursery, letters from their parenting class instructors, and Ryan's steady job as evidence of their stability. After hours of testimony, the judge called a recess. In the hallway, Ryan pulled Eli close. "We're enough," he whispered. "You're enough." Eli wanted to believe him, but fear clawed at him. That night, they sat on their new balcony, Noah asleep inside, and talked about the future. "If we win," Eli said, "I want you to adopt him with me." Ryan's eyes widened. "You mean it?" Eli nodded, his voice thick. "I want us to be a family." The next court date was a blur of arguments and tears. Sarah's closing statement was a lifeline. Love makes a family, not blood. Eli held his breath as the judge deliberated, Ryan's hand anchoring him. When the verdict came, custody granted to Eli, with a path for Ryan to co-adopt. Eli sobbed, relief and joy crashing over him. Ryan pulled him into a hug, whispering, "We did it." Back home, they celebrated with Noah, who babbled happily in his high chair. Eli looked at Ryan, his heart full. "This is our life now," he said. Ryan grinned. "Damn right it is." With custody secured, Eli and Ryan settled into their new normal. The 2-bedroom apartment felt like a palace, its walls echoing with Noah's giggles and their quiet laughter. But the victory was bittersweet. Mia's family cut contact, and whispers from neighbors stung. Eli ignored them, focusing on Noah's milestones, his first crawl, his first word. Duh. Ryan threw himself into fatherhood, reading parenting books and building a rocking horse for Noah. Eli watched him, marveling at the man who'd chosen this life with him. But old fears lingered. "What if we mess this up?" Eli asked one night, as they lay in bed. Ryan rolled over, his hand finding Eli's. "We'll mess up plenty, but we'll fix it together." Their love deepened, rooted in shared diapers and midnight feedings. They started dreaming bigger: a house, a dog, maybe another kid someday. But the past wasn't done with them. A letter arrived from Ryan's estranged father, demanding to meet Noah. Ryan's face paled as he read it. "He doesn't get to waltz back in now," he said, crumpling the paper. Eli took his hand. "You don't have to see him. But if you do, I'm here." Ryan decided to meet his father, and Eli went with him, Noah in his arms. The meeting was tense, Ryan's father offering apologies that felt hollow. Ryan stood tall, his voice steady. "I've got my family now," he said, glancing at Eli and Noah. "I don't need you." Walking away, Ryan's shoulders relaxed. A weight lifted. Back home, they danced with Noah in the living room, music filling the space. Eli realized they weren't just surviving, they were thriving. Noah's first birthday was a milestone they hadn't dared dream of a year ago. They threw a small party in their apartment, balloons bobbing against the ceiling. Friends from the parenting group cheering as Noah smeared cake on his face. Eli and Ryan stood side by side, their hands brushing, their smiles mirroring each other. But life wasn't all celebrations. Eli's second job drained him. and Ryan's long hours at the shop left them both stretched thin. They argued more, small frustrations boiling over. One night, after a fight about missed bills, Eli snapped, "Maybe you should just go." Ryan's face fell, but he didn't leave. Instead, he pulled Eli into a hug. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. "Not now. Not ever." They started therapy, a suggestion from Sarah. It was hard, peeling back layers of hurt and fear, but it stitched them closer. They learned to talk, to listen, to forgive. Noah, oblivious to their struggles, grew faster, his toddling steps a reminder of time's relentless march. One evening, as they walked through a park, Noah clutching their hands, Ryan stopped. "Marry me," he said, his voice steady but eyes nervous. Eli froze, his heart racing. "You serious?" "Dead serious." Ryan pulled a simple ring from his pocket, his hands shaking. "I want forever with you and Noah." Eli's eyes burned with tears. "Yes," he whispered, pulling Ryan into a kiss as Noah clapped. Oblivious but joyful. The proposal wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. They planned a small wedding, dreaming of a future where Noah would grow up knowing love, not judgment. The wedding was simple, held in a Chicago park under a canopy of autumn leaves. Noah, now 2, toddled down the aisle with a tiny bow tie, clutching a ring pillow. Their friends cheered, Sarah officiating with a smile that lit up the day. Eli and Ryan stood hand in hand, vows spilling from their hearts. "I choose you," Eli said, his voice breaking. "For Noah. For us. For always." Ryan's vows were quieter but no less fierce. "You gave me a home," he said, "and I'll spend my life building one with you." Life after the wedding wasn't perfect. They still argued, still struggled with bills and exhaustion. But they faced it together, their love a steady flame. Noah grew, his first word, "Dad," now aimed at both of them, a gift that made Eli's heart swell every time. One quiet morning, as they sat in the nursery, Noah playing at their feet, Eli looked at Ryan. "We swore it was temporary," he said, a smile tugging at his lips. Ryan laughed, pulling Eli close. "Yeah, well, forever's better." They watched Noah stack blocks, his laughter filling the room. The world outside wasn't always kind. Judgment lingered, and challenges waited, but inside these walls, they'd built something unbreakable. A family, born not of blood but of courage, choice, and love. As Noah looked up, grinning, and said, "Dad," Eli felt the weight of every fear, every fight, melt away. Ryan's hand found his, and in that moment, Eli knew this was their forever, and it was enough.